When installing a packaged spa, there are several crucial considerations to ensure safety and compliance with electrical codes. Firstly, electrical code compliance is paramount. Verify that the installation fully complies with the National Electrical Code, or NEC, as well as any local building codes that may apply in your area. These codes are in place to protect individuals from electrical hazards and to ensure the safe operation of the spa. Secondly, it is critical to assess the ampacity of the wiring. Ensure that the 8/3 Romex cable you are using has sufficient ampacity to handle the maximum electrical load of the spa. The NEC typically requires a minimum of 40 amps for a single-phase 50 amp spa. Always consult the spa's documentation to confirm the exact ampacity requirements and use the appropriate wire size as per NEC Table 310.15. Thirdly, ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, protection is essential. The GFCI must be properly rated for 50 amps, matching the breaker and the spa's requirements, and it should be installed in a readily accessible location, preferably within sight of the spa. This proximity allows for quick and easy access in case of a trip or for testing purposes. The GFCI protects against electrical shock by detecting any imbalance in the current and immediately cutting off the power. Fourthly, regarding the liquid-tight conduit, this flexible conduit is used to protect the wiring as it runs from the GFCI to the spa. The liquid-tight conduit should be of the appropriate size and type for the specific application, and it must be installed correctly to prevent moisture from entering and potentially causing electrical issues. Ensure all connections are properly sealed and tightened. Fifthly, bonding is another critical aspect of spa installations. Bonding involves connecting all metal components of the spa, including the frame, shell, and any metal equipment, to the electrical system with a continuous grounding conductor. This process ensures that all metal parts are at the same electrical potential, reducing the risk of electrical shock. The bonding conductor should be sized according to the NEC guidelines and securely connected to each metal component. Sixthly, conduit support is often overlooked but is very important to ensure the longevity and reliability of the electrical installation. The liquid-tight conduit must be properly supported at regular intervals to prevent sagging or damage. Use appropriate conduit clamps or straps to secure the conduit to the structure, following the NEC guidelines for spacing and support. Moving on to some important recommendations. Firstly, if you are unsure about any aspect of the installation, it is highly recommended to consult a qualified electrician for guidance. Electrical work can be dangerous, and a professional electrician has the knowledge and experience to ensure that the installation is done safely and correctly. Secondly, carefully review the manufacturer's instructions for both the spa and the electrical components. These instructions provide specific guidance on how to install and operate the equipment safely. Adhering to the manufacturer's recommendations is crucial for ensuring proper functionality and preventing potential hazards. Thirdly, use only high-quality materials such as approved Romex wire, GFCI, and liquid-tight conduit. The quality of the materials used in an electrical installation directly impacts its safety and reliability. Choose products that meet or exceed industry standards and are approved for use in spa installations. Fourthly, grounding is essential to prevent electrical shock. Verify that the spa is properly grounded by connecting it to the grounding electrode system of the building. The grounding conductor should be sized according to the NEC and securely connected to the spa's grounding terminal. Lastly, once the installation is complete, schedule a final inspection by an electrical inspector to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. The inspector will verify that the installation meets the necessary safety standards and that all components are properly installed and functioning. Consider using a junction box on the deck for connecting the Romex cable to the liquid-tight conduit. This junction box provides a convenient and safe location for making the connections and protects them from the elements. Also, provide ample space around the spa for maintenance and access to the electrical components. This space allows for easy access for troubleshooting and repairs, as well as for routine maintenance tasks. Install a disconnect switch near the spa for ease of servicing. This switch allows you to quickly and safely disconnect power to the spa in case of an emergency or for maintenance purposes. The disconnect switch should be readily accessible and clearly labeled. When working with electrical systems, there are specific safety precautions to follow. Always disconnect the power supply before working on any electrical components. Use insulated tools and wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as safety glasses and gloves. Never work on electrical systems in wet conditions, as water can conduct electricity and increase the risk of electrical shock. Also, if you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is always best to consult a qualified electrician. Another important consideration is the location of the spa. Ensure that the spa is located in a well-ventilated area and away from any flammable materials. Also, make sure that the spa is installed on a level surface to prevent it from tipping over or causing damage. When selecting a GFCI, choose one that is specifically designed for use in spa applications. These GFCIs are typically more robust and reliable than standard GFCIs. They are also designed to withstand the harsh conditions of a spa environment, such as moisture and temperature extremes. Also, when installing the liquid-tight conduit, be sure to follow the manufacturer's instructions for proper installation. Use the correct fittings and connectors to ensure a watertight seal. Avoid kinking or bending the conduit too sharply, as this can damage the wiring inside. The NEC specifies minimum burial depths for underground wiring. If any portion of the wiring is buried, be sure to comply with these requirements. The minimum burial depth will depend on the type of wiring and the voltage. Also, consider the potential for damage from digging or other activities when determining the burial depth. All electrical boxes and enclosures must be properly grounded. This grounding helps to protect against electrical shock in the event of a fault. Use a grounding conductor of the appropriate size and connect it securely to the grounding terminal in the box. Another important consideration is the voltage drop in the wiring. Voltage drop occurs when the voltage at the end of a circuit is lower than the voltage at the beginning of the circuit. Excessive voltage drop can cause equipment to malfunction or not operate at all. To minimize voltage drop, use the correct wire size and keep the length of the circuit as short as possible. Also, be sure to check the voltage at the spa to ensure that it is within the acceptable range. When installing a spa, it is important to consider the potential for water to splash or spill onto the electrical components. Take steps to protect the electrical components from water damage by using waterproof enclosures and fittings. Also, consider installing a drip loop in the wiring to prevent water from running along the wire and into the electrical box. Also, be aware of the potential for corrosion in a spa environment. The chemicals used in spa water can be corrosive to metal components. To protect against corrosion, use corrosion-resistant materials such as stainless steel or plastic. Also, consider applying a protective coating to the metal components to help prevent corrosion. The NEC requires that all electrical equipment be properly labeled. Be sure to label all electrical boxes, switches, and other components with their function and voltage. This labeling will help to prevent confusion and ensure that the equipment is used safely. Also, consider the aesthetics of the electrical installation. Try to conceal the wiring and conduit as much as possible to create a clean and professional look. Use paint or other finishes to match the electrical components to the surrounding decor. It's also important to keep a record of the electrical installation. This record should include a wiring diagram, a list of all components used, and the date of installation. Keep this record in a safe place where it can be easily accessed if needed. When working with electricity, it's always best to be cautious and take your time. Avoid rushing through the installation, as this can increase the risk of errors or accidents. Double-check your work to ensure that everything is properly connected and secured. Also, don't hesitate to ask for help if you're not sure about something. The NEC provides specific requirements for the spacing of electrical outlets and other equipment around a spa. Be sure to comply with these requirements to ensure safety and prevent electrical shock. Also, consider the placement of the electrical equipment in relation to the spa. Avoid placing electrical equipment where it could be easily splashed with water. The NEC requires that all electrical work be performed by a qualified electrician. If you are not a qualified electrician, Do not attempt to perform any electrical work yourself. Hire a qualified electrician to perform the installation. Also, a qualified electrician will ensure that the work is done safely and in compliance with all applicable codes. Consider the long-term maintenance of the electrical installation. Schedule regular inspections to check for any signs of damage or wear. Replace any worn or damaged components promptly. Also, keep the electrical equipment clean and free of debris. Also, be sure to keep the area around the electrical equipment clear of obstructions. This will allow for easy access for maintenance and repairs. Avoid storing anything near the electrical equipment that could potentially damage it or create a fire hazard. Another key aspect of spa electrical installations is surge protection. Surges in electrical power can damage sensitive electronic components in the spa's control system. To protect against surges, consider installing a surge protector on the electrical circuit that supplies power to the spa. This surge protector will help to absorb excess voltage and prevent damage to the spa's electronics. When selecting a surge protector, choose one that is specifically designed for use with spas and has a high surge current rating. A proper and code-compliant spa installation also demands careful planning. Before beginning the installation, take the time to carefully plan the layout of the electrical system. Consider the location of the spa, the location of the power source, and the best route for the wiring. Also, factor in any obstacles or potential hazards that may be present. A well-planned installation will be safer, more efficient, and less likely to encounter problems. It is vital to inspect all wiring before installation. Before installing any wiring, carefully inspect it for any signs of damage or wear. Look for cuts, abrasions, or other damage to the insulation. Replace any damaged wiring before proceeding with the installation. Also, ensure that the wiring is the correct size and type for the application. Furthermore, use proper wiring techniques for all connections. When making electrical connections, use proper wiring techniques to ensure a safe and reliable connection. Use wire connectors that are appropriate for the size and type of wire being used. Also, be sure to tighten all connections securely. Loose connections can cause overheating and create a fire hazard. When working with electrical tools, always use them safely. Electrical tools can be dangerous if they are not used properly. Always read and follow the manufacturer's instructions for any electrical tools that you are using. Also, wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as safety glasses and gloves. Another consideration should be the load calculation. Before installing a spa, perform a load calculation to determine the total electrical load of the spa and any other electrical devices that will be connected to the same circuit. This load calculation will help you to determine the correct size of the wiring and circuit breaker to use. Also, be sure to consult the NEC for guidelines on load calculations. Another thing to remember is to ensure adequate ventilation around electrical equipment. Electrical equipment generates heat when it is in operation. Ensure that there is adequate ventilation around the electrical equipment to prevent it from overheating. This ventilation can be provided by natural airflow or by using a fan or other ventilation device. And finally, always double-check your work. After completing the electrical installation, take the time to double-check your work. Verify that all connections are properly made and that all components are securely fastened. Also, test the installation to ensure that it is working properly. If you find any problems, correct them before using the spa. By following these tips and recommendations, you can ensure a safe and code-compliant electrical installation for your spa.